Welcome to day 36 of my 3D tutorials. Now, first of all, we're going to do a little housekeeping, and then we'll go through, my website and go through housekeeping. Then I'll show you what I'm been up to, what I'll be doing in the future, discussing the future of this tutorial, and then I'm going to go through what I've done and updating the scene, and then we'll start the tutorial. We'll be learning about color IDs and how to create a color ID using Maya. You could create it in Photoshop, but that's a different story. It's quite easy to do that. And then I'll show you how to deal with materials as well in the FBX file. So let's get started. For my housekeeping, for my website, I've made a drastic change in my theme. I didn't like the way my website looked. It looked too, it didn't look as good quality. So I changed the theme to this greyish colour with white typology. And I think it looks quite nice now. But as like before, on my website, my tutorials is located on the first 4 videos on the home page, and the rest is in the tutorials tab. If you require any critique or advice, or if your studio requires an artist, 3D artist, please email me at a.booth3d@outlook.com. You can follow me on Twitter at AndrewBooth3D. So now we've got the housekeeping done, we can move on. This week, what I've been done, I purchased a modern kit. It's like a Gundam suit. If you don't know what that is, it's like an anime that was in the 80s, 90s about massive suit armors, a bit like Iron Man, I suppose, but massive. The scale of this model is literally the person HUD is there, the person control is there, so it's a one-man vehicle basically. The reason being I'm doing this model kit is so I can have a reference, because I'm looking into robotic kind of modeling, see if I can. I've always had an interest in robotics, and big robots, and I want to see how well I can model it. So it'll be like a challenge for me. So I'll keep that updated in my Twitter account, so do follow that. So now we come to the scene. The scene update I have done is on the pool table. As I said before, I didn't like how the legs were going, so what I done, I deleted the old legs I had, used cylinders which I duplicated with a special instances to get 4 of them. I also retopologized the base of the snooker table. I know you always ask yourself, why am I modeling the bottom? If in the game you won't see it when you're looking upwards. That may be true, and you won't see it. Not that great deal anyway. But the reason I'm modeling is because this will be on my Sketchfab or Sketchfab. I don't know how you pronounce it, but it will be on that account. And when you're using that kind of in-browser 3D space, many potential employers or anyone looking on your website will see underneath. So it's kind of like for show, but this is another thing you gotta consider when you're presenting your portfolio or work. What to show and what not to show. Ideally, what I'm also going to do when it comes to this, I'm also going to go, when I'm here, and go around and delete them, because at the moment all that point is put, so much stress is put onto that one UV point, on that one UV point. It also meant if I didn't do that, all those triangles, and since Games Engine render better as quads sometimes it's triangle, depending which one you use, but it's better to have a quad. It's more stronger when you come to modeling. It goes back to that theory when I started this tutorial series, when I mentioned about 1 point is a factor, 2 points make an edge, 3 points make a triangle, but you can't half a triangle. You can, but it just makes another half. So when you go to sculpting it, you're only making another quad and another triangle, so it's not very even. So when you do a quad, when you halve it, it halves into a quad. We can halve it along this edge here with an edge loop, and it creates another quad, if you see my point. Also, it releases the stress. Now when it comes to a circle like this, normally we go across like so, and it distributes that stress more better, but because this isn't going to be seen that much, it's easier to do that rather than across. Because it would mean I had to delete all these edges and then using this split polygon tool to rejoin the edges up again. That's no problem, but to saving time and efficiency in time, it's better to do this when it's not going to be seen that much. Also, what I've done in the outliner, I know my list of assets has grown on here. That's natural when you come into a scene. I've created a new group for the snooker table. I've placed the actual body as the parent and the legs as the individual, as the child. As you can see, they're all individual children, so that's always handy to do that. I've done that right at the beginning before UV mapping or anything. It's more efficient. It's getting that good, strong workflow going. Also, what I've done, I retopologized underneath here. I beveled all the edges and I retopologized this area here, like so. I retopologized and I lowered the poly count, so instead of being 1000 or 1000 odd, it's now something like 800. The reason being it doesn't display that is because of it's been in the group. It's now the hierarchy, which means it grabs the children as well. By doing that, it's kind of counting the topology, the poly count of the legs as well. The legs, like I said, is as simple as cylinders, which I edited. I had 10 edge loops, which I edited to form this fancy woodwork, which I beveled the edges. So when you deselect it, that's what it looks like. And if I turn off the wireframe, this is what it looks like with the wireframe. It's a look what I wanted to have. Now I also mentioned about what I want to do happen after today's tutorial. Tomorrow, when I start tomorrow there'll be another tutorial. There'll be 2 more tutorials. So tomorrow, will be in Substance Designer. We'll go through everything. We wouldn't actually model the actual asset, this food mixer. We're not going to model that, not completely. What's the point? Because you've seen the process on how it's done with the salt dispenser, and it's the same process, so it'd be a waste of time going through the entire 10 episodes, 10 or 5 or 10 different episodes modeling this when it's not necessary, since you really do it in the previous video, in the previous tutorial of the salt dispenser. So instead, what I'm going to do, instead of actual modeling that, I'm going to show you things you need to consider when you're doing a modular asset like this, because this is a modular asset. It's not a repetitive modular asset. What I mean by modular in this instance, it's made of different parts to form different part of the model. Like this wisp here, this whisk here is a modular piece. This is a modular module. So is this. So different parts make a asset. But in the industry, modular is when you have one particular asset, like a piece of wool, like these light fittings. They are all modular pieces. These are all classed as modular because they're all duplicated to form the lighting system. Also, a piece of the wool will be considered a modular. Let's say you had a little piece here, like a tile, a 10 by 10 tile on the floor, and you duplicate that across. That tile will be a modular piece because then it will be tiled across to form the floor. So bear that in mind. My workflow may vary to different person, so what they consider as modular is different. So now we'll work on the food mixer. Like I said last time, this is now finished. Once we've finished actually modeling this, once it's finished, I will post a picture on my Twitter account of the actual texture, and it's fully textured and everything when it's done. So do, like I said, do keep following my Twitter account. So now we've done this, we exported it as an SPX. So what we're going to do, we're going to open the FBX. I'm going to show you how to open the FBX. Now, opening the FBX is quite tricky. You can't actually go into your files and then go into your folder like American Diner FBX. You cannot just click and drag it into the scene. Oh, it did happen that time. Let me come out of it and quit. I'm going to show you something quickly. When we did this salt dispenser, once it loads, when we done this salt dispenser, we didn't open it in FBX. We just clicked and dragged it through Substance Designer because we didn't have to edit the FBX file. So when you have Nemea, when you have Nemea closed like this, right? You have to wait until it's closed. You cannot go and click the FBX drag it into it like this, because it's not open. Once it's got to wait until it loads. I just want to show you this because this caught me out many times. You get this, an unrecognized file type, just like that. You have to have it opened first, and you can click and drag again and it'll work, or open it in the actual file, open scene. Hopefully it shouldn't crash. There you go. You can go into FBX, find it and press open, and it will open up like so. Now it's opened up, but you don't see nothing. The reason being you don't see it is because it's not in the object's not in a 1 by 1 by 1 location. So you press F and they are. This is another reason you had to reopen it once you export it from the scene. The reason being is because the FBX file actually uses the transforms and the location from the actual scene itself. So you cannot do that. You can't just go straight into Substance Designer and plug in. It's like it'll be blank, just like you've seen it there, because it's off by a long shot. Once we open that line, since we put in the whole thing in a group, we can click the group, right? And you top here, if you press 0, it pulls it to the 0 location of the axis. So it's 0 in the X department, 0 in the Y department now, 0 in SZ. So now it's dead center. You must remember to do that at all times. So now we come into the position of making the color ID. Now, what is a color ID? A color ID is a texture of colors that you use to determine what material, or what color is what material is what information separates from another information. For example, in Substance Designer, it uses a color ID for a multi material blend. It uses a color ID. A grayscale you can also have a grayscale color, a grayscale ID. We just call it a mask, but that's the same principle. So for this particular thing, you have to do it. For something like this, what's going to have more than one material, it is beneficial to have a material ID, a color ID, Now you can go into Photoshop, take in a screenshot, a snapshot of the UVs, and then creating your color ID there. And it's good to do that. But this is just another technique I want to show you that you can do it here. To create that, you actually go into your rendering and you use, if I can find it, transfer maps. And as you can see, these are all selected. It's because I already had them pre-selected here, so we've already got the entire model selected, so it thought to add selected. And we actually going to be using the diffuse here. This actually just transfer the diffuse of the model to another. just like you did in the ambient or the normal, this is what we're going to do. That's what we'll be using. So with this, we're first of all going to duplicate it. First of all, duplicate it. Command or Windows and D. That duplicates it. Create layer from selected. Call this food mixer. Wheel. There you go. There you go. Turn it off. So now we've got the duplication behind. So what we're going to do, we're going to add topology. Remember when I said when we look into the UV editing, when you UV edit it, when we cut into it, as long as it's not cutting too far into the border, it just adds it in the UV editor. And that's what we're going to be doing in this sense. But one thing we need to do is separate the grouping. Separate the grouping because at the moment, if we select either one of these, it grabs them as a group. This is why we duplicate the mesh and then grouped it, in a layer, so we can do this kind of editing and it won't be affected. So go into mesh, separate, and that's because it's not combined. Okay, where are you? I want to ungroup it, so I'm trying to work out a way so we don't have to do it the long way round, but I can't see a way we can do it. I guess we've got to do it the long way. I was afraid of that. So you've got to open up your outliner. Separate, and we've got to literally pull these children away from the food mixer, and same with the food base. So now that it's separated, we can collect the individual components and not have to worry about if you set that we will set the knob, because we can't have that. So I'm going to open the UV editor, enable the borders so I can see where they are, and we'll be using this editor as well. So first of all, we're going to start with the primary color. So create new material, just using a defaulted Lambert. Called this yellow material matte. This is going to be the diffuse color, the default color. Like we normally do, we normally click that to drag this menu up, but we don't want that because we don't want a file, we don't want another node attached to it. We just want a basic color. So select the color, and there's the primary colors we'll be using. That's why they always put these colors here. So these are the primary colours that we'll be using. So there's the yellow selected. So that's one material. That's going to be that red, default red colour. Actually, instead of calling it yellow material, call it red metal. You can call it yellow material, it's easier. So the next one, we're going to create another one. We're going to create a chrome material. So select this here. And select all these faces. This is a much more quicker way of doing it. Photoshop, you can do it in Photoshop, but then it takes more longer because you have to open that file in Photoshop. You have to import the UV snapshot, and then you have to work out on the UV layout where things are, where they're located. You have to then reassign that material onto the asset to make sure that your assigning is correct, and and you have to keep going backwards and forwards, and it is a pain. This way you can do it by eye in the actual mirror. Now, as you saw, I assigned a red colour. So this is now the chrome. We're naming it chrome material or red material matte. So now I don't like how it's just using the bevel as the defining point, so I'm going to insert, well, not create polygon tool, so one click, insert edge loop, using the insert edge, use the relative distance from edge, so you can define how far from the edge you want it. So I'll click and drag to this bit here, this down. Don't worry too much what it does to the overall model, because it's a duplication. We're not after the shape of the model, we are after the color information. So don't be too worried. The only time you need to worry is if it affects the UV outline. If it affects the border, that's the only time you need to be concerned about. You don't have to be concerned about the topology, how it looks. You don't have to worry about none of that. All we're after is the color information. As long as the borders are not touched, because it's the borders that's keeping the UV shape of the texture, and that's what we're looking for. And as you can see, when we added that edge loop, it just added it there. I just split it up. Oh, here, sorry, wrong one. Here, we just added a new edge loop, and that's all it done. So then we can assign it like so. And that's what you do. With here, I can use this edge loop, but I'm not going to. Instead, and then go across here like so. And then go across the top like so. Make sure you have that edge loop selected. As you can see, it altered it here, and I don't like that, so I don't like the way it would cut into it like so. So I'm just going to drag that up to match the height of the previous. If I wanted to, I can select it. Select it, you know, from here to here. Like so. And across there to there. And straighten out. Again, we are not after the efficiency. What we're after is the color information. That's all we're after. It's the color information. This is going to be a chrome decoration that goes around like so. It's a chrome, so that's going to be red. Also, this is going to be red. So is this. And this. And this is what you do. You're defining where you want that material assigned. Now I could potentially just use a grayscale, black for the, use the black for the chrome and the white for the red metallic. I could do that, but then there's other techniques that would be easier used by using this technique. This is going to be another chrome detailing. So now we've got this two-tone effect going on. If you want to add, you can add as many different colors you want. At the moment I'm using two-tone. I'm trying to work out what else the materials I'll be using. So I've got a red metallic. If I wanted to make a two-tone, so if I wanted to say the top bit will be a different colour, it can be. In fact, that's what I'm going to do actually. I can create the base to be a metallic red and the top be a different metallic colour. Could be like a pinky or black, or the base could be black, a metallic black, or a different colour. But it's something that I still could be piecing it together, so it's good for this. It's good to have this kind of information available now when we're still developing it, because when we go into Substance Designer, we don't want to have the case of, oh, I want to add it now when the colour ID is already printed out. So it's best to do it now when we can, when we're here. We don't necessarily have to use that information. We can just plug the red metallic colour into the third colour if we so wanted to. Also, you can use a colour ID. There's a node in Substance Designer that uses like a separation tool that separates different colours. So I can able to separate the red colour out as a separate mask. So then I can plug that one mask into another node, a different like effect. So if I want this to have the chrome to have rust, but the other portions of the bottom, the food mixer, I don't want it to, I could. That's the way you would go around it. That's why it's good to have a colour ID. That's why it's always good to have a colour ID, just in case, in that instance. You know, don't worry about the shape of it, as long as you don't affect the borders. You're right, you don't change the shape of it. This is just colour information. This will be a very time consuming thing to do, but you know, it's very delicate kind of job, so you can't just click and hoping you click in the right portion of the body, like so. Because if we did that, it will assign it all the same colour, so you've got to take care, and it's that care that takes the time. This is a good technique to use as well. This is a very good technique to use also for decals, because then you got a basic shape of what the model looks like. You're not guessing it. You're not actually guessing it. Which means when you come to creating decals in Substance Designer, you can use that as a base, as like an overlay, so you can see where you're placing the actual decal, if that makes sense. So now we create your third material. This will be blue matte, and in the colour we use this blue. I know they are very sharp colours and sharp to the eye, but they need to be, so Substance can determine what material is what. As you can see, I wasn't particularly careful here and it done the edge loop, which I didn't want. I'll just correct it once we've done all this. Blue matte. Also, we'll be having a clean up of the materials again, especially on this one, because we will also just be having the materials for actually in Substance Design itself, if that makes sense. We're not going to have, you know, we can't be having too many. As we see in Assistant, we have Lampet 1, 2, 3. We'll be deleting these two and all these as well. We cannot be having them in Substance Designer. So we are nearly finished here. There you go. Sorted. Done. So now we got an idea what it would look like as a material. So now we got this kind of ship going on. It's time to use the diffuse maps, the transfer maps. I do apologise. With this, we'll go to rendering, transfer maps, and since that is the target. Wait, I gotta think now. That's not the target. The target is what we want it to be on. This is the source. So we add the source here. So we go in outliner, and we must have that food mixer, this one selected. So add selection, and as you can see, it's selecting them all. This is why you have to separate it like you saw beforehand, because it takes all these models in themselves. So now we've got the top selected, add selected. Wait, I gotta think now. No, it's the other way round. This is where it's always confusing, because they have target and source. Now, this is where it's confusing, because do you class this as the target, or do you class what a target? See, you got to think really careful, because this one here could be considered the target, because we're targeting the information here, and we are transferring to another. So do we class this as a target, as the target of the information where the actual information is, or do you consider the duplication as the target, because it's what we're going to transfer onto it? I'm going to take the punt of it the other way round. I'm going to target this I'm going to target that as the source. I'm going to class that as the source. and then this as the target. We want it as diffuse. As you can see, because we've done it before, we have them already set up. I always do mine as PNG. Yeah, all correct. This is one you need to look at as well. Fill texture scene. So at the scenes, it's going to count 3 spaces inwards. So for example, it will stop the bleeding or any miscolouring. So that's a point 1. And then bake. It shouldn't take too long. As you can see, it is pretty slow. The more information you have, more longer it will take, so bear that in mind. And you cannot do too much because it may freeze. So at this point, I'm going to edit this bit out of the video, so when we return, it should be finished. Back to this tutorial. Now, when we left, we was doing the color ID. I made a few changes. I did make a mistake. I actually got the wrong way around, so I corrected it. And also I named it. With that, this is the result, and this is the image you get. This is the color ID that you have. So now we've done that, we've got to put the window outline back to the way. As you saw in the preview, I closed it before I can explain, that everything was transferred properly. So the yellow is the red, the blue will be a different colour, and the red will be the chrome. So now we've done that, we've now got to do the materials. So now assign new Lambert, assign this as top mixer matte, assign new Lambert mixer bowl matte, and again new Lambert mixer base. Reason being I'm doing this is because when we're going in Substance Designer, we've got to define in the actual graphs what material is what. So we've got to separate each material as they are. So this will be mixer knob, and when we're going to outline, like I said, we've got to reorder these. So for mixer and the risk, having them. Now, because this is the child and this is the parent, we've got to assign this another material first, then do the risks. So, assign material, favourite, Lambert, risk, holder, matte, and then select these and assign new material, Lambert, RISP, matte. So now we've got all the materials defined. We're going to create another flooring. Reason being, I'm doing a new floor 10 by 10. Oh, got the cube, wrong one. It's this one for a plane. Reason being I'm doing the floor is so when we ambient occlusion, you know, when I come to bake the ambient occlusion, it has a floor to bounce the light off and the shadows. So floor, put this as 20 by 20, 1 by 1, that's not enough, so 50, still not enough, so let's do 100 units by 100 units, still not enough, so make it 200 by 200, that should be enough, there you go, plenty. Now drag that down and align it. Like so, there you go. Now we've got the floor done. Time to export the whole thing again. So first, before we do that, it's on new Lambert, and then call this floor matte, so it doesn't use the preset Lambert one. With that, we got then reopen the amber hypershade, and once we open sorry, I'm going my words tongue-tied there. Open the hypershade. We've got all these materials, and some of them not even used. So delete all unused nodes, because we don't want unnecessary nodes in our scene. So then, Maya, export selection. Export selection, food mixer, export selection. It will ask you to override it if I want to replace it. We do in this case, so click yes. So this is the new FBX file, which we'll be opening up in Substance Design next time. With this will conclude this tutorial. Like I said earlier on, this next tutorial and the tutorial after that, which will discuss how to import and manage multi-objects in Unreal Engine. The next tutorial will be in Substance Designer, telling you about the changes and what we had to do differently compared to the salt dispenser. And that will conclude this tutorial series. But there will be other videos I'll be doing for Twitter and YouTube, my YouTube channel, as well as Facebook. I'll be doing once a week. I'll be doing like an asset creation kind of video, just to create an asset and my workings and building it. I won't be talking much in there. I might even get some kind of music, royalty-free music as background, so it won't be so silent, and it'd be like some kind of speed kind of modeling, so you can see my processes behind all my. But that is still in the workings. I'm still working out. I may not even do it, so don't hold it to heart, but I might get something done. Anyway, thank you for joining me today, in this tutorial series today in this tutorial, and join me again in my next tutorial. Thank you for watching.